Stephen Batchelor described the path, any path, as an area from which all obstacles have been removed. So you think of a spiritual path or any kind of path. The problem with finding a path and going on it, it can only lead you to where someone else has gone because they've already removed all the obstacles. And so when you're in the forest, you're like, oh, there's a path. Sure, you can take it. It has less obstacles, but it'll take you where someone else went. It may not be your path. And that's what many of us do. We just follow a path. And I did too, until one day I was like, I would rather get my knees cut up and, bushwhack through this forest to find the view I want, to have the life I want, than to be herded towards a destination I have no interest in visiting.
Welcome, everyone, to the Spiritual Forum. I'm so glad you're here. I'm so excited about my guest today. He is the featured speaker at my retreat coming up called the Whole Planet Spirituality Retreat. I'll talk about that in a minute. I just wanted to take a moment to say thank you for supporting this podcast in any way that you do it. I love building this community. We are a message of hope, inspiration, and awakening in the world. Now, let me introduce you to Timber Hawkeye. He was a guest on this podcast last January 30th, and so it's been a year and a few months since I've talked to him. He's the best-selling author of Buddhist Boot Camp, Faithfully Religionless, and the Opposite of Namaste. His books and the Buddhist Boot Camp podcast offer a secular mindfulness practice to be at peace with the world, both within and around us, living by the Buddhist precept of doing less harm and still following the monastic vows even after leaving the monastery. Timber's resolve remains to lead a life of purpose, congruence, and conviction. Okay, I mentioned that he was a guest, and I mentioned that he's going to be the featured speaker at the retreat. Let me just take a moment to say something about the retreat. Our theme this year is Homo Ahimsa Rising, and this is about calling people who are rising in consciousness to practice inner peace and live in active communication and compassion with everyone. And Timber Hawkeye is going to be the featured focal point of this retreat. Welcome, Timber.
No pressure whatsoever.
No pressure. No pressure. All eyes are on you.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna be there to support us in our transformation. No, I'm real excited about having you at our retreat, and I'll talk about that in a minute because I think you're going to really help us with the deep inner work that I feel like we're all ready for. But before we get to that, I've got my rapid fire questions. You agreed.
Okay.
I think.
Shoot.
In concept. Okay, so let's just pretend for a moment that you're in an elevator, but you're only going up like 5 floors, so it's not a high elevator.
Okay.
How would you condense your message?
Be kind, be grateful.
I had 1,000% confidence, Timber, that you would be succinct. Some people go on and on and on. Okay. Do you have, well, this may be the same one. Do you have a word or a phrase that guides your life? Is that the same thing?
Allow.
Okay. Allow, meaning being...
Surrender. Just allow, observe. Just don't resist. Just, loosen the grip.
Love it. Okay. Resistance is futile. All right. Do you have, well, of course you do. We all do. Can you name, and it's a person who inspired you in your life and why?
I'm less inclined to name a person because they always say don't meet your heroes. I worship the message, not the messengers.
Mm-hmm.
So I have found inspiration in so many places. So it's not about an individual. And I think anyone who has inspired me would agree, like, hey, don't give me credit. Give the teachings credit. So the teachings.
Okay, so the teachings being like the Buddhist teachings?
Any and all. If I identify as a student, everything is a lesson. So,
okay, got it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you.
You said we only had 2 floors.
Oh, the 2 floors was for the message. The rest you could expound on. Oh, no, that's great. Thanks a lot. All right, so let's dive in. I'm going to talk a little bit about the retreat because this is our fifth year, and it's at Unity Village, and that's October 16th through 19th, 2025, and that's a Thursday through a Sunday. Unity Village is in the heart of the nation, so we're not on either coast. We're in the heart of the nation, and we're bringing our vibration there. And this year's theme is really about rising up to a higher consciousness, or just shedding all of the layers until we're finally at this judgmental universal love kind of place. So there's all sorts of different ways to look at it. But we've invited Timber because we're ready for you, Timber. We've evolved over 4 years. We started the conference out with a lot of just presentations and it kind of being conferencey. And over the years, we've done more and more like inner work and looking at ourselves versus trying to fix the world. And so I think when I extended the invitation to you this year, it's because I really feel like we're ready for the sessions we're going to have with you and taking the deeper dive into ourselves and shedding those layers and judgment and all that. So thank you for agreeing to come.
Hey, I think you nailed it in that the approach is definitely going to be not necessarily raising ourselves to some higher consciousness, but really just focusing on dropping the detrimental habits that we have, the judgments, the closed mindedness, the biases. When we drop those, we inevitably rise. So we don't need to focus on rising. We just need to let go, and the buoyancy of our spirit will lift us up. So yeah, it's not about doing anything. It's actually like stop doing, just be, and you will float. So that's the idea.
And just as you were talking, I did have that image of floating to the top of the water and how much energy it takes to push something down that naturally floats, you know? And I haven't really thought about that before, but that's actually what we're doing. We're like pushing this buoyant
Hmm.
entity down as ourselves and then just letting go, that little baby pops right up to the surface and floats. So
Yeah.
I like that idea that that's what raising consciousness is. It's that allowing the consciousness to rise after letting go of all the other stuff.
Yeah, because I think its nature is uplifting. It is inherently light. It's just we add so much to it. We make it so heavy, and then we wonder why we're having such a difficult time. It's like, well, it's a lot easier to live in the flow than against it.
Yes, it is. That's another metaphor I think about a lot where we're like in a boat on a river and the current's coming and we're 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 rowing upstream so much of the time and all we have to do is just lift the oars.
And I admit a lot of it is because we're heading towards a waterfall and we're terrified of what that means, or we're so accustomed to the river, we're not ready to be spewed out into the ocean because it's big and it's unknown. But the ocean draws us to it. We're gonna end up there. Just go. Like just can't stay in the river forever. Just I don't know. I love the constant change of being in the flow and in the river. I think stagnation scares me because stagnant water stinks. So I just keep flowing.
It does. And in a river, there are all those little pools of stagnant river on the sides. And
Mhm.
if you're in a canoe or any kind of a boat like that, often you kind of go there just to for a little respite maybe, but you don't stay there.
No, you don't. No, we're just leaves that fell from trees, and we're in the river, and we're flowing down, and there are the ones who are clinging to the side, just like no, and then there's the ones that are right in the middle, just going, and that's I don't know. That's why that one word, allow, surrender, just observe, enjoy.
Yeah, and the waterfall, that's also a really interesting metaphor because that is something that it is an unknown. It's dropping off a ledge. We don't often believe we're equipped for that as if we need to be equipped for that. And it's really just about allowing and letting it take you over.
Yep, yep.
Because on the other side's the ocean.
But to each their own at their own time. And some people love the stagnant pool and just staying there. And it's not about judging anyone what they're doing. It's just I often take inventory of my own habits, beliefs, biases, opinions, and I go, have I held on to any of those too long? Have they expired? It's like opening the fridge and checking the expiration dates, going, oh yeah, this was good. This made sense at the time, but it's time to let it
It's
go.
it's a little moldy now.
Yeah. Yep.
So do you do a regular kind of values check like that?
Oh yeah. I mean, I think we're invited to every time we go out to eat, every time we go to a restaurant, every time we go to the store, every time we shop, every time we have a conversation, every time we meet someone new, we, I think, are invited to, okay, are you going to repeat the same spiel as you did with every person you've met since high school? Or what really summarizes you today, and how are you going to show up today, and who are you in relation to what is happening today, not 5, 10, 15 years ago, but today? So yeah, I constantly evaluate when someone, earlier today, you're like, how are you? And I'm like, that's a good question. Let me evaluate what's happening with me, because we need to stop and evaluate. So yes, regularly, constantly.
Well, that's a really interesting, example you just brought up, because we are really wired to say, "How are you?" "I'm fine." We have these, rote responses to a lot of repeat questions, and to just stop and pause and even question that.
Hmm. And my answer ended up being a lot richer than fine, because I was like, oh, I'm fine. And it's like, wait, let me actually take inventory. And then while we're talking, I'm like, well, I've got a lot of stuff coming up. I'm going camping soon. I'm actually really excited. I'm feeling really optimistic. I'm doing really well. That's a much richer answer than I'm good. Like, good is not even a feeling. Like, can you just elaborate on that a little bit? And when I did, you have a better understanding of how I'm doing, and I have a better understanding of where I am. So yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
evaluate and elaborate.
When there's something about feeling too, because I think we're really disconnecting with our feelings sometimes. It's like, I don't even know what I'm feeling. Like, it's easier to say I'm good than to say, "Wait, wait, wait, I gotta check in. How am I really feeling? What is my feeling?"
Hmm.
And it's a practice, because I think I think when we're children, feelings are very, very clear to us. We're screaming, we're wanting this, we're laughing, but as we grow up and we're conditioned, it's like something happens and we disconnect, I think, from our feelings, and we really do have to check in to feel.
Yeah, and know your audience too. If the you know the register at the grocery store, the person at the register asks you how you doing, that's not the time to go, let me check in, and see how I'm doing spiritually right now. No, that is not the time or the place. But between us, with ourselves, like you said, do I ever check in with myself? Yes, absolutely, regularly. And some people journal, some people have a check-in partner where they go, hey, here's a list of feelings, let's go down the list, because every feeling is indicative of a need that is either being met or not met. So it's not even about the feeling, it's about, are my needs being met? And so if I'm angry, it's like, well, what's going on? Well, I don't feel heard, I don't feel seen, I don't, you know what I mean? And so that's the real rich stuff. The feeling is just the indicator light that something's, either on or off. Can we look at under the hood and go, okay, how do we get this running as smoothly as possible?
Yeah,
Too many
yeah.
metaphors, I apologize. I'm a visual person. This is,
Well,
yeah, I can't
I'm
use
a
words.
visual person too.
Okay.
In fact, I was just listening to or watching a video today where somebody was telling a story and there were no pictures. And I was just listening to her. It was like an hour of a story. It's a great story, but I just couldn't, I had a hard time staying with it because I needed the
Mm,
pictures. It really does help. Or the metaphors. That really helps
mm.
too. Yeah. So at our retreat, we have lots of different kinds of people who come, and anybody who's listening is invited. Everyone's invited. But a lot of people have a desire to make the world better, to be in action, to change the world, and there's also a lot of suffering associated with that. A lot of suffering associated with a disconnection between our vision versus what it is, the reality. A lot of division that's going on in the world and frustration around that. And I'm thinking that you're gonna take us into a place that helps us with these things.
Yeah, a lot of the pain of just being a human on this planet is inevitable. but the suffering, uh, that's that's unnecessary. I find nowadays people are very attached to their suffering. They don't feel perhaps even worthy of a life without it. So it's justified. And when you suggest to them that they can loosen the grip and breathe a little more easily, they'll hang on to it even more tightly. So there's a lot to uncover of like, whoa, who told you that you need to blank in order to, matter or have value or worth or I don't know. There's a lot of pressure in every arena to do rather than just be. And I just actually recorded a podcast episode as well about, what do we do in these troubled times, and people are saying this is not the time for peace. And I'm like, are you kidding? Like, what do you mean? They're like, well, peace and meditation and quiet and reflection is not working. We need to go out there and I don't disagree. I thought, because again, to answer your earlier question, do I constantly reevaluate it? Yes, because I strongly believe in peace and nonviolence and quiet and nonviolent protest and being an activist in your own way. All of those things, I strongly believe in all of that, and none of it is hostile. None of it is outward. It's all internal. But when I got all that feedback of like, this is not the time for peace, your toxic optimism. I mean, I've heard it all. So I decided to pause and go, maybe there's something to what they're saying. Desperate times call for desperate measures. Are these desperate times? Like when I was in debt in my 20s, I that was desperate time, called for desperate measures. So I just ate instant noodles exclusively until the debt was paid off. I took my health, put it on the back burner, and focused on getting myself out of debt. So do we need to take peacefulness and put it on the back burner? And I thought about it. I was like, well, David did not beat Goliath through meditation, So there was a time for, and I was like, yeah, but I'm not David, and I'm not hostile, and I don't. So maybe it's not. Maybe there isn't one answer. Maybe some of us, if this was a hospital and there's some kind of tragedy going on and people are getting hurt left and right, and it's a time of chaos. Okay, let's pretend that that's what's happening, so that we're not denying that the world's a mess. Okay, but do we all need to be in the ER? Like, what about the people who need you are in hospice care who just need someone to hold their hand? That's not doing anything. Just because you're sitting quietly with someone, just because you're showing up, just that doesn't mean you're not. If you're not in the front lines, if you're not in the intensive care unit, you're wasteless. Like, no, like we all have a role to play. Some of us are going to be in the ER, and some of us are going to be in physical therapy, surgery, you name it. Like, there's a lot of healing modalities happening. So don't judge yourself if you're not out on the street protesting or yelling in front of City Hall. Uh, do what's right for you, and until it's not, and then reevaluate. I think that's a good word for us for today. Evaluate, reevaluate, and then
Reevaluate.
evaluate again.
Yeah, yeah. And I really get that. I like the metaphor of the ER, or any kind
Triage,
of
right?
front lines.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like it's a funny thing our ego does. Like only those people who are in the ER handling the craziness, only they have value. I'm over here doing something and it's something, but it's not as valuable as them. That's just a weird thing that we do in our ego to somehow mess with us.
Well, it's a society too. I mean, you're not going to have a TV show called
Calls
playing,
hospice sitting.
yeah, playing cards with the elderly. Like, that doesn't sell. That's not thrilling. That's not exciting. Also, in the U.S., we are so drawn to TV shows about ER and all of that. I think because we're so blown away by a doctor who actually like listens to us and like wants to help us, we're like, wait, this is fantasy. This is amazing.
It is.
I've never experienced anyone caring about my
I
health this much. I love this. So there's a lot of draw to that. So yeah, we feel like if you're not a fireman, if you're not an ER tech, if you're not in the front lines, then your work doesn't matter. But that's not true. And if you ask the people who you're playing cards with on Wednesday nights, they'll tell you this made a huge difference in my week. I really appreciate you being here. So it's not about impressing any. That's a question. It's like, who are we trying to impress, really?
Yeah.
Because if I bring a smile to someone's face, just just
It's
be.
huge. I think it's huge.
I think
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, I'm really coming around to, this journey being, like, my journey. That doesn't mean I'm the only person here, but that if I can get myself to a place where I'm releasing judgments and that I am open to loving and accepting, and that I am and practicing experiencing inner peace. If I can do that, whether or not this is true, now I do think it impacts all of consciousness, but even if it doesn't, like even if it doesn't, there's no way to prove that. Even if it doesn't, it matters. It matters. I matter, and that's what I can do.
Well, if we're talking about changing the world, and you're part of the world, and you today were peaceful, you're one more peaceful person in the world. That makes a difference because you could also
Yes.
be out there adding fuel to the fire, and you're not. So you're one less person adding fuel to the fire, and you're one more person being peaceful. Imagine that on a global scale. So that's why it's all individual work, and it sounds selfish because we're focusing on us, but we are part of the whole. So it's there's nothing any one of us could do that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So when you start believing that you matter, there's this heavy weight of responsibility for every decision you make, and that to me is exciting. Like, I have a purpose. So now I have a purpose. I have values. I'm driven. I'm constantly questioning myself and my own. I'm so focused on trying to do the best I can. I don't have time to judge anyone else. So it's a win-win. I really think that to just show up today and again do the best we can. And if you can't do good, just don't do harm and just keep going.
Yeah,
No.
I agree. So I'm just my little brain, it just sent me a little message.
Mm.
We forgot to do your story. I know we told your story, how you got to doing Buddhist Boot Camp and,
Mm.
kind of your background. We did that in the first recording that we did last year, but I'm
Yeah,
kind of
people
wondering
can
if you
go
might want to
listen to it
share a little
again.
bit. Yeah,
um,
go listen to it again.
Yeah, because then there's the people who know the story and they're like, "Oh, I've heard this a million
Heard it is.
times." Um, I think we're all on a journey. We all get to a point where we go, the way that I've been doesn't work for me anymore. Whether that is, oh my God, I've been in corporate America, climbing the corporate ladder, and I'm exhausted. I don't want to do this anymore. I did it to impress my parents. Now I realize they'll never be impressed, or now I realize they don't care, or now they're dead and I'm still trying to impress them. Whatever it is, we get to a point where we realize the way we've been isn't working for us anymore. We've been an aggressive driver our whole life, and all of a sudden we're like, this is exhausting. What would happen if I just move one lane over and just not get emotionally invested in everyone else's driving habits? What would happen then? Let's just experiment. So I think we all have our story. My story is not necessarily different than anyone else's. I'm one more person who went through life trying to follow the American dream of, buying property and buying the car and buying the designer clothes, buy, consumerism, right? And looking the part of someone really successful and impressive. And then I realized, gosh, this is it's just never ending. Like,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
even my designer clothes the next year, those are not no good anymore. I need to go. It's
They're
like,
not stylish.
no. So I got off the rat race, and whether you move to Hawaii or you move to the mountains or you move to the desert or you move to the sea, it's like,
Or you don't move, but
or
you
you
just change.
change the lens through which you look at the
Yeah.
world, and all of a sudden the things that really mattered stop to matter, uh, and things that didn't matter that you didn't even think about become your highest priority. I do think at some point we all reach a point when we realize health is the highest priority, because the moment you lose your health, nothing else matters. You can't focus on it. You're like, I don't care what's going on in DC. I don't care what's going on in any other part of the world. I just want to be able to breathe through my nose right now. Like, I just want this pain to go away. I just want to heal. None of that other. So it's like, if we just focus on our health, then we can be strong enough to show up when we are called to show up. But without our health, we're helpless. Meaning, we can't be of help, of assistance to anyone if we don't take care of ourselves. So that is, and don't wait until you lose your health to realize this. Like,
Yeah,
just
yeah.
um, treasure it while you have it.
Well, sometimes I think those times when our body kind of picks us up and lays us down, I know I had a pattern. I had a pattern back a decade or two ago where I would just work, 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 work. And then my body would just go boom, you're done for a while, Carol. You're going to lie down for a while. And, um, and so those times when our health starts to teeter a little bit, whether it's a migraine headache or a flu or something like that, it's kind of a wake-up call to remind us how important health is.
Yeah, but
So
most
that
of us just hit the snooze button, you know?
I know, exactly,
So,
exactly.
and
Or
then
we
we go
pop
right
we pop
back.
medicine we pop
Hmm.
medicine so we can get through this quickly, not even trying to really look at the toxins
But
we're putting
that
in our body.
ties into the priority, because we prioritize, I need to take the medicine so I can get back to work, so I can get more done.
Right.
That's because our priorities are. So I think, just, yeah, our priorities change throughout life. And um, yeah, so my story is not really all that special, I don't think, or important. And yes, I took a time out because I was caught in my own vicious cycle, and I went to a monastery. But even once I was there, I was like, well, this isn't the solution. It's like, I don't know that I have a lot of questions. I don't have many answers. But stay inquisitive. I think that's the key. Is never, again, the stagnation of, oh, I have found the truth. Really, have you? Because you've searched everywhere. What about under that rock? Maybe everything you thought was true turns out to be a lie because you forgot to flip one rock. So stay inquisitive. Stay a student. Like, life is just magical.
I really get that, the idea of staying in wonder and curiosity. I like, again, your metaphor of the rock, because I do think that we have a propensity to look for the answer, whatever it is, the health answer, the answer to what is the meaning of life, what is life about, who is God, who am I? We're looking for these answers, what is the government,
And we're looking for someone else to give it to us. And I'm just like, don't.
Yeah, you're right, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're looking under rocks versus inside. Yeah.
Yeah, it's don't search for the meaning of life. Give life meaning. And people are like, oh, that sounds like so much work. I'm like, well, but it keeps you engaged. Like, you have purpose. We need purpose. I just think helping each other out is, in my experience, and I forget. There's a quote. I think it's Shantideva who said, all the happiness I've experienced has been from trying to make someone else happy, and all the misery I've experienced is from trying to make myself happy. Something along those lines. It's just, when you work for the benefit of others, both of you benefit. If all you do is trying to make yourself happy, you'll never get there. It's just this bucket with a hole in it that's just, I don't know. I'm out of metaphors. It just
I
keep
don't think you're
swimming.
out of metaphors,
Just keep
Timber.
swimming.
Just keep swimming and just do it. I like the what you said, stop searching for the meaning of life and give life meaning, be in action to give life meaning.
Yeah, because it's not lost. It's not between the couch cushions. You go, oh, that's the meaning. Like, no,
There
it's
it is.
just you, your being, your choices, your support for someone else. That's
Yeah.
meaningful. And if someone at any point told you that you don't have value or worth, that's, I'm sad for them, because the only way they feel good about themselves is by trying to tear someone else down. At the same time, what an incredible gift to have someone show you how not to be. Like, I don't want to be that when I walked away from that experience, I didn't feel good. And I don't want anyone else to walk away from me with that feeling. So, mental note, don't do that. And so, thank you for showing me how not to be. And then someone else holds the door open for you, smiles for you. takes one extra second with you and asks, how are you really? And if that resonates, if that feels like connection to you, stick with that and then offer it to someone else. I don't know if that makes any sense, but this yesterday I talked at a Unity church, and I realized that, with Buddhism, we take refuge in the Buddha, the teacher, the Dharma, the teachings, and the Sangha, all the people on this journey with us. And throughout my practice, throughout my life, I took the monastic vows back in 2008. My gratitude shifts. At first, I was like, oh, the Buddha, love the Buddha. If you had asked me that question that you did earlier, who do you admire? I'd be like, oh, the Buddha. And I would just name all these teachers and be like, and so my gratitude would be for the first jewel. And then there are times when I'm just so grateful for the teachings, the message that I receive. And it could be from the most unlikely person. You can find poetry written on a bathroom wall that moves you. It's like the teacher is not important. So I'm like, Buddha Shmuda, whatever. It's like, I just want to focus on the second jewel. And then there are times when you're really down and the only thing that lifts you up are your Sangha members, are the other people in your life who hold you up. Regardless of who their teacher is, of what their teachings are, they are there for you. So all of a sudden the Sangha becomes the most important thing. But I love that it's three jewels. They're all important. And I don't, that's why I love that the Dalai Lama said, don't take what I teach and try to be a Buddhist. Just try to be a better whatever you already are. We're not here to convert people to be who we are. We're here to encourage people to be the best of who they are.
Mm-hmm.
And teachers are everywhere. I don't know. I love learning, and so I look for the lessons in everything.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Well, yeah, it makes sense, and I do like the idea of the people who bother us, the people who are upset about it, people who are annoyed by whatever, or that we don't like their behavior. That it's like, thank you, you're showing me how I'm going to choose not to be.
Mm-hmm.
That's a gift.
Yeah.
Everything is a gift, and we can choose to make it a gift. And if we get stuck in the judgment and the projection onto that person, we're kind of missing the
Mm-hmm.
lesson, which is thank you for
Thank
showing
you.
me
I think that's the
something.
appropriate response to everything. It's thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for the
Yeah.
good, the bad, the horrific. Thank you. Like,
Yeah.
just because if it's great, enjoy it because it's super temporary and that greatness is not going to last. If it's terrible, it's also temporary. It's not going to last. Like, don't cling. Just thank you. That moment in the movie of Gandhi's life with Sir Ben Kingsley, and the moment Gandhi is shot and he falls to the ground facing the person who shot him, he doesn't yell at him. He doesn't cuss him out. He just puts his hand together like this as he falls to the ground. What a beautiful thing to have compassion for someone and see that that person was hurting. They're angry. They're upset. You triggered them and they don't know how to express their feeling. Or how to explain their feeling, how to even understand what they're feeling. So they're expressing it. I'm getting less and less uh, interested in expressing a feeling because they're so temporary and I don't need the theatrics and the dramatics. I'd rather explain and go, here's what's going on. And then the other person can go, and they're more receptive to hearing me because I'm not in their face. I don't know if that makes sense or if that's just me. I
Well,
just,
I mean, the histrionics that go along with feelings, it's like, it's like, "Ah," it's then you miss the message. You miss what's going on in that person's heart, or the person misses what's going on in your heart. They're just paying attention to the drama around
mhm,
it.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I grew up with a mother who was very dramatic. And so everything was, um, the right word would be performative.
Uh-huh.
And so I have often taken a step back, going, who's the audience? Who am I performing for? What kind of reaction am I trying to get? And oftentimes people do just because they need a reaction, because then people are paying attention to them and then they feel like they matter. And so people do what they're going to do. So when I witness someone being theatrical or dramatic, I go, oh, you want to be seen, you want to be heard. which we all do, and then I can empathize with that. I can have compassion for the person rather than judgment.
Yeah.
Because I know that when I try to be theatrical, I'm like, what am I doing? Like, oh, I'm trying to get attention. Because I'm no different than anyone else, right? I'm the same as everybody. So it's, yeah, that's why I think self-reflection is so important, because we can see everything we don't like about someone else is we can see in us. And if we don't like it in us, then it bugs us when we see it in someone else.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, the appropriate response to all of it is thank you. Thank you for showing me what I refuse to look at.
Thank you, thank you. You did mention the monastery. You mentioned the
Mm.
monastic vows. Can you share what the monastic vows are?
There are templates, because the vows are not commandments, they are invitations to reflect. And then you yourself, with your teacher, interpret them for where you currently are on your journey. So you may not be able to go from zero to Zen priest overnight. It's a process. So, for example, the third precept is about sexual responsibility. And if someone is a sex addict and you're telling them to be sexually responsible, that's like telling an alcoholic to drink responsibly. They can't. So you got to meet people where they are and go, okay, maybe with you, we need to just be celibate for a while until you understand why you're doing what you're doing. You get a little better handle on it, and then maybe someday you can introduce the responsibility part into it. But you can't just go, oh, these are the rules, follow them. It's here are the invitations based on years of studies of what's creating most of our internal conflict. And in order to alleviate that, try this on for size. And so we have learned through thousands of years of studies that ingesting toxicant and toxins, and not just food and drink, but like certain TV shows, certain music, so that affects us mentally, emotionally. And so the invitation is be mindful of what you're consuming. It's not a dictatorship that says, cut out anything by this artist or cut out this. It's test it and monitor how your state of peacefulness is affected by it. If you feel a higher vibration, that it's helping you, that you're more pleasant, more optimistic, more in tune with all that is, great. Hold on to that. If it draws you away from that and you're becoming more selfish, self centered, egotistical, then it's drawing you away from the unity that is us. So every precept is an invitation to contemplate, like the first precept, aware of the suffering caused by the destruction of life. I vow not to kill, not to let others kill, and not to condone any act of killing through my thoughts, words, and actions. What does that mean? Well, it says aware of the suffering caused by the destruction of life. Now, if someone's not aware of the suffering that's caused by it, that's going to be interpreted by them very differently. How do they define life? Is an animal life? Is a plant life? Is it just human life? Like where? And that's why people change what the vows mean to them as they go through life. But the commitment to continually evaluate, again, back to that word today, is to go, okay, how does this sit with me today? Which is why, for example, the invitation in Buddhism to do no harm didn't sit with me, because we can't do no harm. But the moment I changed it to do less harm, that I think in an instant turned me into somewhat of an activist, in that I'm actively questioning everything I think, say, and do, and go, how can I minimize the harm that I'm causing? Not stop. I can't stop, but can I minimize? And that changes what I eat, what I say, what I drink, where I go, who I allow into my orbit, and who I leave out. It's do less harm. That's huge.
It is huge. It is huge, and it does matter, because do no harm is impossible in our bodies in this physical world.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I I wouldn't be able to move probably from my chair. I certainly couldn't walk outside. Or I have to be so mindful because, I don't know what ants might be there. I don't know what microorganisms. I mean, so
Just the
so
fact that you're one more person in an overcrowded planet is,
yeah.
is a, and yet, if you just say, well, then I'll just kill myself, it's like, well, but if you are enriching the life experience of someone else, then you're actually going to do more harm by taking
Right.
yourself out of the equation than by staying in it. So
Yeah.
minimize the harm. And it's not one rule. It's today I have a menu with 3 options. One of them is healthier than the other. None of them are healthy, but one of them is the healthiest. I'm going to choose that one. Now, the next day, I'm going to have a menu with 3 other options, including the one from yesterday. But now yesterday's option is the least healthy option. So I'm going to make a different decision today because of my time, place, and circumstance, because of maybe I can't afford what I bought yesterday. Does that mean I just don't eat at all today? Time, place, and circumstance. Meet your, not just other people where they are, meet yourself where you are. And that changes moment from moment. And sometimes it's 10 steps forward, 1 step back, and we want to just tear ourselves apart and be like, how could I? It's like, dude, have a little grace, have a little compassion for yourself.
Yeah, it is important to have compassion for ourselves because we are unaware of our how we harm. We're unaware. In a lot of some of it's very easy. We yell at somebody, that's harmful. We bash someone over the head,
Sometimes
that's
we
harmful.
cause the most harm when we try to do the most good.
Right, that happens too. That
Mhm.
happens too. But a lot of it is also staying open to learning about my impact, my impact on the environment, my impact on animals, on people, on insects. And
Mhm.
if I have a closed mind, like I just don't want to learn about that
Mhm.
because I want to keep picking this on the menu or keep picking
Mhm.
this activity for the day, then am I doing the least harm or less harm? I could open myself up or open this door and learn, "Oh gosh, I didn't know that. I didn't know
And
that
there's
I was."
still a lot I don't know. That's the important thing
Absolutely.
is,
No,
oh, my
absolutely.
impact on the environment. And then go, okay, but can the environment handle it? Because you know what I mean? Like we can say, oh, I don't want to, raise my voice at this person because I don't like being yelled at. And they're like, dude, I've been yelled at my whole life. Yelling at me doesn't bother me at all. Go for it. With that person, your yelling's totally fine. But with someone else, the tone of your voice can be really, violent. And so we don't know. We have no idea what's best, what the environment can just reboot, and we don't know. So we make the best decision with the information we have, knowing that we don't know all the information there is to know. Like I think that's a really important key because many people get to this point of, do you realize what you're doing? And you could just reduce the harm by it's like there's how much do you still not know? Because like a year ago you didn't know that. And now that you know it, you're all self-righteous. Like, calm down. There's still a lot you don't know. I don't know, just offer other people grace as well, maybe.
Yeah, for sure. And you're completely right. I mean, I know that I have 3 different prayer calls during the week, and usually when we're focused on awakening, we're focusing on our own awakening and also recognize, thank you for what I have been made aware of, and open more doors for me, please. I want to see more. I want to see more. I want to see what I cannot yet see. And it's an interesting prayer because my experience is I will be shown something that's kind of very likely shocking that I had no idea about once I put out there that I'm willing to learn more or to expand my horizons on how I am doing harm. And so it's constantly that circle is constantly widening.
Yeah.
And I do agree, it's you need to have a lot of patience for other
Mhm.
people, just as people who are way beyond me can have patience for me
Yeah.
because I'm just a little baby in this whole thing and waking up.
Exactly. And sometimes you're like, yes, I'm committed to looking behind the curtains and I want to see. And sometimes you don't have the bandwidth to do that,
Oh, absolutely.
you know?
Yeah.
And so
Oh,
I can't, I can't concern myself right now, with how much harm this is causing. Because if you eliminate it, again, like you said, you're not going to be able to move from that chair. And you're like, I can't even sit on that chair because it was probably made by someone who wasn't paid a fair wage. And so now I'm
yeah. Yeah.
contributing to the suffering of someone.
Yeah.
Oh my God, like we can't do no harm. Stop trying. But
Yeah.
minimize, balance it out, do some good, just and ask. Just stay a toddler. I don't know. I just
Well, and give yourself grace. Give
hmm
yourself grace. Don't beat yourself up for that chair that might have been. I mean, who knows how that chair was made. You're really right, though, when it comes to wanting to open the door to see more. You have to be ready for it. If I said this is my constant prayer, it is not. There are times I cannot open many more doors, you know. I can scroll on Facebook and suddenly something shows up and it's like, "Whoa, I'm not ready to see that. I
hmm
don't wanna see that." I mean, that's kind of an assault on my senses right now. Right now, I'm too
because you're still
sensitive.
processing what you learned yesterday.
Right, right. I don't I don't need to see that right now. I'm too sensitive right now. Yeah, let me process and integrate and then open myself up when I'm ready.
hmm And some people are not ready. Some people don't care. Some people are, and what I mean by that, we all, I would go as far as to say that we all care, but what we care about is prioritized differently.
Mhm, mhm.
And so oftentimes, because we're so self-centered, if something isn't impacting us directly, we say, I don't care, I don't know about it, it's not in my orbit. But the moment it comes into your orbit, you're like, why doesn't everyone else care about this? It's like, because it's they're not impacted by it directly, or they don't know, they're not aware, or they're impacted by 20 other things. They can't care about all of them. So we prioritize and say, this is my priority today. Again, we're back to the emergency room, we're back to triage. What is the highest importance today? It doesn't mean that what I really cared about passionately yesterday isn't important, but today something else is more important. And that doesn't mean the other thing is not important. It's just less important. I don't know if that makes, like I said
It
earlier
makes
with
complete
health,
sense.
like I I can be so committed to doing really good and showing up and building a house with Habitat for Humanity, and then I wake up and I'm so sick and I'm running a fever and I can't move. And focusing on my health becomes suddenly more important than leaving the house and building. I don't know if that. I just it's not selfish. It's
And I think the stacking is always changing.
yeah.
It's always changing,
But can we have
depending upon what's
patience for
going on.
others when others don't stack their priorities the way we think they should?
Right, right. I think priorities are always stacking differently based on what's happening. So, like the health of somebody in my family may have absolutely no not stacking at all until something happens to them, and now suddenly it's the most important thing. And
And you
my
drop
my
everything. You drop work. You
right,
drop
right.
everything. It's just suddenly that becomes your whole world revolves around that one person, and that's just what I
It's
think
just
that's what I
life.
like about the monastic vows. You want me to detail them out, and they say, and I think in a nutshell, it's stay open, decide when something happens, good, bad, or horrific, who is showing up? Like, what part of you is going to show up? And if you make a vow to be peaceful, kind, honest, and patient, it doesn't matter what's happening. Nothing is going to push you into hostile and violent. You know what I mean? Like that. You're like, no,
Mhm. Mhm.
the kindness is still going to be who shows up. That's the vow. It's like getting married. I often compare the taking the monastic vows to the vows people are most familiar with, which is the marriage vows, and it just means I'm human. I've been human. I'm gonna stay human. Uh, I'm wearing this ring or I'm wearing these robes as a reminder that I wasn't born into this union. I chose to make it, and when I'm tempted to go away from it, it's like, oh, wait, I'm available for certain kinds of relationships, but not others. This is true again of the monastic vows and of the marriage vows. And just like the marriage vows, there's a template, but many people write their own and they say, this is what works for me. This is that's true for me. And I just officiated a wedding in Cape Town. And what I loved about it, going back to God, all these themes that keep showing up, The couple wanted to have their wedding with just the two of them and me officiating on the top of the mountain. They didn't want their family, they didn't want their friends, because then they felt that it would be performative. They felt like, oh, we're just saying these things because that's what's expected of us. We're doing it to show off our love. We're doing it for the photos. We're doing it for that. We're not doing it for all the right reasons for each other. So they had just the two of them and myself on top of a mountain. They were in tears, just committing to one after 10 years of being together, saying we're committed to continuing this journey. And I hope they don't mind me sharing this about, but it was just this beautiful, totally uh, there was no social media, you know what I mean? Like there was no outward performance of it. It was truly, and I think that's what taking the vows is, marriage or monastic, or how you're going to show up as a CEO at your company, or what are your core values as a mother, or etc. Write them down, make a vow. What is your mantra? What kind of life do you want to lead? What kind of person do you want to be? And how are you doing? Like, how are you doing being that person? Give yourself a report card at the end of every day and go, you know what? I only got a B on patience today. I can do a little better on that tomorrow. And that's great. It's not means that you're a failure. It just means my teacher used to say, you're all perfect and you can all use a little improvement. And I love that.
Yeah, getting that B in patience doesn't mean you throw out the vows entirely.
No, it just means, oh, okay,
Okay,
that's
all
one
right.
more area I can improve on. I think isn't that the idea of report cards? Like periodically
Well,
you get them and you're doing well in English, you keep going. Science, not
uh,
so much.
that's
Like,
the way it used to be.
I don't
I
know
mean,
what it's like now.
yeah, I mean, I think that it used to be, yes, feedback on where you are, but I think there's another thing that's like, okay, but there are other students that are getting A's or I got a C,
Oh, so it becomes
and
competitive?
it becomes kind of like,
Oh,
or parents look at it as, you need to do better
wow.
because these other kids. So I think it becomes not just a kind of a private, this is giving me feedback as much as this is where I am relative to everybody else. I think, yeah.
Yeah. And what is that? Comparison is the thief of joy, you know?
Yeah.
I look at it, that's interesting. It never occurred to me to compare my report card with anyone else's.
I never showed my report card to anybody ever. All the way through college,
It
no
was
one
just a way
ever
for
ever
me to
knew.
go, oh, this is
Yeah.
where I need to try harder. and
Yeah.
and I'll be first to admit I failed PE in high school. I hated PE, hated it. And they said, you're gonna get an F. And I'm like, I'm fine with that, but I'm not okay with running around that reservoir. Are you kidding me? Give me the F. I don't care. Like, I was so not interested. Later in life I became an athlete. No one saw that coming. But I
That's funny.
just, yeah. I never cared about impressing anyone
Well,
else.
I think the other thing also that has happened with report cards is it's your ticket into something, into college or into some other school. And so you have to get these certain grades in order to get to this,
That sounds like
UC
a
Berkeley
restaurant
or
with a dress code. And I'm like, I'm sorry, but I don't want to eat here badly enough for you to judge me on my attire. Like that, like, I don't care how good your food is. I would rather go next door where they welcome everyone. That is more my pace. That, I don't know, because I'm not in competition with
yeah,
anyone. I hope we all make it.
yeah,
And if that's your thing and you want to dress up and you feel good, great. I'm so glad you have a place you can do that. But I don't care how good their food is. I'm not putting on a jacket for them. Like, I don't even own one. I can't. I don't know.
yeah, yeah.
Um yeah, it's a competition. I think you've uncovered something really fascinating about this report card and competitiveness, and like you said, trying to get into a certain school, so you have to do better than other students. And but then that's just,
It's a program of our society that we're either agreeing to or not.
yeah. And I guess at some point I just stepped away from it. Like, I don't want to play this game.
Yeah,
I think that's a
yeah,
really interesting way for you. You wanted me to tell the story. That's the story. I was in the game. I was very much in the game. Again, the sports car, the clothes, everything was to play the game, to look the part, to keep making my way up, making more money. And one day I'm like, I don't like this game. I just don't. And am I going to lose some friends when I stop playing it? Absolutely. Uh, there's a I don't know if it's okay to plug it, but there's a TV show or a Netflix show called Black Mirror, and every episode is stands alone. You don't have to
Mhm.
watch them in order. They're all it's a mini, it's just movie, and one of them is called Nosedive, and it's really about rating other people, giving them a 5-star review, a 4-star review, a 1-star review. And when you look at people, you immediately see above their head what their rating is.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it is dark. It gets dark
Yeah.
very quickly because everything you do, you're doing it to get a good rating, because
Yeah.
then you start going to, you want to rent an apartment and they go, "Oh, we only rent to those who have 4.5 and above." You want to rent a car and they're like, "Yeah, you don't qualify for the luxury car. You have to get this one because your rating's too low." Yeah, all these things. So everything you're doing, it's just it. The reason it's called Black Mirror is because that's what our phones are. That's what our TV screens are. So it reflects back to us our shadow self. Like, this is where we're gonna go if we don't reconnect with one another. So Nosedive is the name of that episode, and it is dark. It's really dark.
Well, I think a lot of people think that that is what is happening in the world, that we're being herded into this matrix kind of system where we have some sort of social credit
If we
score.
choose to, yeah,
Exactly, exactly. If we choose to, and but part of it is being aware, and I think like that show helps people being aware of how this would look, and then you can say, just like we said before, "Thank you,"
mm.
because that's not what we want.
It's what some people want. I mean, some people loved it. Some people loved the elitist groups and their friends who are all 4.7 and above. And that's what, again, it's the restaurant
Yeah,
with the fine
yeah,
dining and the
yeah.
dress code. And
Well,
that's,
maybe it's society we live in now, and we just can't see it. I mean, it is true. There are those who are really elites, and then there's elites, and then there's kind of upper middle class, and there's regular people, and I mean,
yeah,
we do I don't know if that's social credit as much, but we do kinda have a society like that.
yeah. And I just
Yeah,
don't want to play.
yeah,
I think it was Kurt Cobain who said, "I'd rather be hated for who I am than loved for who I'm not."
yeah, yeah.
And that has been really a great reminder as I pulled myself away from social convention and decided to trailblaze. And, you know, Stephen Batchelor described the path, any path, as an area from which all obstacles have been removed. So you think of a spiritual path or any kind of path. The problem with finding a path and going on it, it can only lead you to where someone else has gone because they've already removed all the obstacles. And so
Mhm.
when you're in the forest, you're like, "Oh, there's a path. Sure, you can take it. It has less obstacles, but it'll take you where someone else went. It may not be your path." And that's what many of us do. We just follow a path. And I did too, until one day I was like, I would rather get my knees cut up and, bushwhack through this forest to find the view I want, to have the life I want, than to be herded towards a destination I have no interest in visiting. Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense, and it usually takes something to wake us up or some sort of hitting rock bottom or something that causes us to go, "I'd rather bushwhack my way through
Mm,
this un tread path, because the other one is just so much easier. You know, it's like gravity and falling. It's just so much easier to fall into the path that's before you, and I can see the times I did that in my life over and over again. I mean, you're a kid. You go to school. That's what you're supposed to do, and then you do this because that's what you're supposed to do, and you get a job because that's what you're supposed to do. And it takes a while to kind of wake up and go, doesn't matter if I'm supposed to do it.
yeah.
What is my path? What's my destiny? So,
And
I
that's,
know we're coming up on our hour. I
are
know
we
you've got to
okay?
back in.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could keep talking, but I know you've got an appointment. Um, this has been a really great conversation,
Did it
and
even go where you did? I'm sure you had notes of where you wanted it to go. And then
no,
I
I really
just,
didn't. No, no, no.
okay.
In fact, this one was like, I don't know where we're gonna go. I do I do want to throw in the retreat.
Bushwhack our way through the
Exactly.
forest. We're
Bushwhacking
we're
away
gonna
through the
see some
forest.
things we didn't realize, and we didn't, because again,
Yeah,
following a formula can only lead to exact predetermined results. There's no magic there.
yeah, Yeah,
And
I usually don't go into any kind of conversation like this with a plan. Sometimes I have a backup if it gets kind of stilted,
mm,
and it's not fluid and it's not an exchange. Sometimes I have a little backup, but with this one, I'm like, we'll go
that's
through.
why I'm
We'll go
glad we're
through.
gonna have 3 days together
Yeah,
at the
right,
retreat, because
right.
you never know where it's gonna go. And the last time I did a retreat like this, it a group of us just kind of branched out, and because we wanted to continue the conversation outside of the format of, yeah, that's the end of that hour, we now moving on to other things, and we're like, you guys go ahead, we're going to stay here and unpack this a little more. um,
Yeah, and that's that I'm hoping we don't separate in the retreat, but that's why we have you for a few hours on one day,
mm,
and then we're gonna come back the
yeah,
next day. And you're not coming with a PowerPoint presentation.
no,
You're not coming. Yeah, so I just you're coming to have a kind of a conversation, a discussion.
yeah, yeah, I have no idea what's going to come out of my mouth. I have no idea what kind of questions are going to be brought up, what topics, I don't know. Just like with this, I have no clue, but I
Yeah,
know what my values are. So the answers are not coming from me and, ooh, what would people want to hear, or what would be most impressive. I'm not concerned. I'm sorry for your listeners. I'm not concerned with being liked or impressive.
yeah.
I, my goal is to be authentic, and if even if I'm the only one standing, um, I have no shame in that.
And then when people ask you questions, I think you're gonna be very well received. Um, are we, is it a space where people can bring forth their own personal challenges?
To some degree, yes. And I think you and I both know that what I mean by to some degree is we don't want one person to suddenly monopolize a group discussion to unpack an issue they have with their ex. You know,
Right, right, right,
that's
right.
what I mean. So, yes, because in reality, no issue that one person is having is personal to them. We're all battling the same
Right.
demons.
Yeah,
And I don't think it's by coincidence. I think it's so we can help each other. So if someone brings up the question, I try to really gently and skillfully get to the core of what are you really asking? What is really the challenge? Because that's something we're all battling, and that's what I'll answer, rather than the on the surface, this is how it's showing up for me today. Does that make sense?
right.
Like,
No, it makes perfect
yeah.
sense. It's interesting. I've done the landmark forum before, and somebody stands up and shares, and everybody gets something out of whoever shares because it's like it's everyone's story is kind
Mhm.
of the same. It's our story.
Yeah.
So yeah,
That's why I
and then
said to an extent. That's why, like, not people are
right.
not going to be able to do what I do with one-on-one with people, but as a group, and people tend to be pretty respectful of that.
I'm sure they will be. I'm sure they will be. And so we have you on Friday afternoon for a couple hour session, and then we come back on
The
Saturday
next day,
morning.
yeah.
'Cause I think overnight, there's going to be a lot of
Oh
processing
yeah, oh yeah.
and a lot of wait a minute, wait a minute.
But what about, yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
but what about? So then we'll be able to come back together again. Um, you mentioned your personal sessions. I want to ask you one question about that
Mm,
because I get requests to be on my podcast by lots of people, and I checked your website yesterday. I'm like, I wonder how he does these personal sessions, and I looked and oh my gosh, what did you charge? You charge $25 for a half hour.
mhm.
I've had people on my who want to be on my podcast who charge $400 for a half hour. And I go, well, this is just me. Why do I want to work for free for this person for 10 hours to to raise their platform?
Mm.
And so they can get more clients for $400 a
Yeah,
half
when
hour.
I
That's
set it
so
up,
much money.
I was contacted by a third-party platform asking, "Do you want to offer, one-on-one sessions for people?" This was during COVID, and I was like, "I don't know if anyone's going to take this," and I set it all up, the profile, and said, let's try it out. And as soon as I put in the $25, because everything I've ever done has been free, I never
Yeah.
charged for anything. This is different because this is like, oh, I have to stay home. Like, I have to
Yeah.
commit to being there. And people are more likely to show up if they paid something to be there. And
Agree.
so I put in $25, and immediately I got a call from the platform saying, "Hey, did you make a mistake? Did you mean 250?" And I'm like, "No, no, no, I meant 25." Now, the value of our time together is determined by the person who has the call with me. And as soon as we hang up, they have the option to offer more, and many do. But it's not for me to decide how much it's worth. It's for the person having the call. And for some people, the fact that it's 25 means they could do it every week. And to some
Yeah.
people it's like, oh, I could just a one-off as a present for someone else who's a fan or whatever, and they just want to talk to you or whatever. I don't get to decide why they want to do it or how much it's worth to them. They decide. And some people are like, oh my God, this was so invaluable. And I don't have time, I don't have energy, but all I have is money. So here. So I don't decide. Um,
I love that. I really,
and the
really love
25, the
that.
platform gets a portion, the credit card
Yeah.
processing gets a portion. It's really not about the money. It's just like we have a monthly not one-on-one, but a monthly group discussion, but it's only for people who offer monthly support. Now, it's not about the money. It's just so I have a separate mailing list of those who want to be invited. Now, it could be $1, it could be $100. Like I don't tell them what the monthly support needs to be. I just need them to be on a mailing. I don't know if that makes any sense,
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
but it's not about the funds. Plus, I wouldn't be able to afford to talk to someone for $400 for 30
I know
minutes.
$400 for 30 minutes. I mean, that
So
really cuts out most of the world.
I would rather talk to people like who, yeah, I don't know. I just that's not me.
Yeah. Yeah. I offer a lot without charge, but $25 might be a good idea. Um, okay, Timber, I know you've got an appointment. This has
Thank
been
you.
so much fun. Yes,
I look
thank you
forward to
so
seeing you at the
much.
retreat.
I can't wait. I can't wait. I know that we're going to, we're ready. We're ready for the deep dive. We're
All right,
ready.
let's do it.
Yeah. All right. Thanks.
Okay.
And thank you everyone for listening. And I now close the spiritual forum.